What do retirement, COVID-19, and photography all have in common? I'll tell you. They're all coming up on the season finale of The Ekko. Hastings High School, it's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for The Ekko. Today is April 30th, 2021. I'm Carl Warner, and we have a jam-packed final show of the year for you all to enjoy. It's go time. Let's head off to the cafeteria. Lunch has looked very different this year. At the beginning of the school year, we were eating in our classrooms, and recently, we've even had the chance to eat lunch in the cafeteria again. Granted, we've had to deal with large plastic dividers keeping us from perfectly communicating with our friends, but that's a small price to pay for the salvation of returning to normalcy, one lunch hour at a time. Speaking of normalcy, one area of HHS that has been finding more ways to return to that is spring sports. All of our sports at the high school have needed to adapt to COVID-19 and the challenges that came with it, such as game cancellations or practice being canceled due to an outbreak. However, Athletic Director Trent Hansen has plenty to smile about this spring, with more aspects of our sports returning to normal.
All depends on how you define normal, right? I think it's a new normal that we're really looking towards. Right now, the best part about the athletic world at HHS is that kids are practicing and kids are competing. We've got some restrictions when it comes to our stadiums in terms of how many people can be there, so there's a lot of technical, logistical stuff that we have to manage. But we're closer than we've been all year, and what kids are experiencing is pretty close right now. So it's not perfect, but we're trying to embrace it for what it is.
Mr. Hansen went on to say that newly announced last week, students participating in outdoor activities are no longer required to wear masks when they're actively participating in their activity. No matter what the rules are, I'm sure that all of our student athletes here at HHS are just happy to be competing. Affecting all of our lives for over a year now, COVID-19 has been quite the burden. Today, we're here to show you a peek behind the scenes of how COVID has affected many of us around the school. Here's the Ekko's own Annika Twerberg.
In one way or another, COVID-19 has affected all of us in this past year, creating so many challenges for each and every student.
There isn't like one big thing that goes, well, this is what makes it hard. It's a lot of little things.
Mr. Colvin tells us some challenges that he sees from his students each and every day.
But we have kids that live in rural areas, so, well, okay, I'll record the Zoom, but they have data limits, or, they just have spotty internet.
And challenges he himself experiences as well as his students.
So I think the biggest difficulty is the same thing students have. It's just there's a lot of things always on your mind, and it's always remembering everything to do as it changes throughout.
With so much on our plates, it's nice to have school resources.
Being able to be a resource for students that are going through something that's very hard.
Our school psychologist, Ms. Schill, is here to help and work with students, especially in these hard times.
We really want kids to know that we're here, both myself and other school professionals, including another school psychologist and school counselors, that we're here to kind of help you problem solve your situation, to be an extra support person, and help you figure things out.
As most teachers and students would say,
I think connections is the most important part.
Not getting to be around people in person has been one of the hardest parts of this year, and Mr. Peterson agrees.
It's not quite the same having access on a phone or on Zoom versus being able to sit down and talk to somebody in person and knowing the body language, and you can tell so much within those conversations that it's really difficult when it's not in person.
Feeling connected and like there are always people right by your side has been very difficult for many people recently. Miss Meyer works really hard to focus on creating relationships with her students.
I love connecting with young adults.
We can all tell that many of our teachers have a similar favorite part about teaching.
Is developing a relationship with students.
You can see kind of the background. I've got, class pictures and senior pictures and stuff from students over the 14 years. So it's just that relationship with students.
And the relational part of teaching is my favorite.
Developing relationships this past year has been tough, even more so for fully online students. Mr. Dressen has been a teacher at the high school going on 21 years, but this year he did something a little different.
I was working from home and doing HOA. And
Many of us are probably familiar with HOA, Hastings Online Academy.
or they could work during the day at their job or during part of the day, and then they could come home in the evening for, from 7 to 10, they could do their homework and they would stay caught up. So it gave flexibility to students in their schedules.
Mr. Dressen has found lots of success in his students' grades and comprehension through HOA.
Of the students who were in the online academy, many of them did far better than when they were in the building.
Looking back to the 5 days we were fully all back in school,
We had 5 days in person, and that felt amazing. It felt so good. The halls felt like school. The kids were back. There was energy. And this is just a building without kids. Well, we go back right to hybrid, and it's like, well, nobody's here.
So that 1 week for 5 days where everyone was in the building was wonderful. I felt like a normal teacher again.
showing us just how different hybrid has been for the teachers and students of HHS.
So there's just been so many life lessons through this last year that I hope, although hard in the moment, I think we'll all be able to look back and be like, wow, if we can do that, if we can survive that, we're going to be okay.
Reporting for the Echo, I'm Annika Torberg.
From the high school's point of view, one of COVID's major effects was forcing the cancellation of both prom and a normal graduation last year. And if you don't believe me, just ask someone from the class of 2020. This year, however, preparation for those events are already underway. It was announced not too long ago that Grand March will be taking place at HHS, and the dance itself will actually be off-site this year in the Radisson Blu Hotel at the Mall of America.
So we've kind of evolved into having our prom offer different opportunities. So the Radisson Blu Hotel, right, Mall of America, rain or shine, kids can go walk around in their awesome outfits and be seen and noticed. And then it just happens that there's a hotel there that offers a huge venue as far as 300 kids. So that was one of the hook, line, and sinkers as to the Radisson Blu.
Graduation 2 has been promised to take place at Todd Field this June, which is something that is certainly being looked forward to by every senior. One milestone to the ceremony is this will be the very first class to graduate on the newly renovated field.
We're hoping to have graduation with all of the class of 2021 and at least a couple of people from their family in attendance. If the guidance for outdoor venue changes and we have to have a smaller event, then we might run 2 or we might run 3 graduations. But we will be outside, we will be graduating, and we're hoping that it's one large graduation.
Following graduation, the all-night grad party will be held on June 4th at the Civic Arena from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Tickets cost $40 and they're being sold until June 2nd. No tickets will be sold at the door. If you'd like to learn more about the all-night grad party, please visit hastingsgradparty.com. Oh, we're on? Hey, give me a break. These days, it seems like just about everyone loves being in front of a camera. However, there's one senior whose love of photography stems from being behind the camera. The Echo's Marcus Flynn has the story.
Afton Lee, a senior at Hastings High School, has a passion for photography.
My niece was born 5 years ago, and I did her newborn pictures, her every milestone.
And this is where it all started. 5 years ago, taking pictures of those she is closest with. Afton started taking this hobby seriously about 10 months ago.
I take family portraits, senior portraits, weddings, couples, engagements, everything like that. So anything to do with people, really. Friend shoots, everything.
Natalie Castletine, a senior and friends with Afton, one day decided to go to Spring Lake Park to take a photo shoot.
Afton texted me and asked if I would go to Spring Lake Park with her and take some pictures, and that's how it all started.
Natalie was very satisfied with the work Afton did, but she is not the only student here that decided to work with Afton.
And my friends and I wanted to take some pictures with her.
Another senior, Audrey Langworthy, saw Afton's work and wanted to bring a couple of friends to take some pictures.
She is really talented and really personable, so it was a lot of fun and I felt really comfortable with her.
Audrey and her friends had an amazing time, and it really shows how professional Afton is. Earlier this week, Afton invited us to a photo shoot downtown, and it was not anything formal, just a couple of friends getting together to take some pictures.
I have packages that go from 15 minutes to 2 hours, but the average one is like 30-45 minutes.
It was definitely a below average time for a photo shoot, turned into a very fun experience with Afton.
I'm planning on going full-time with it. I don't have a job right now, so it is my only job. And yeah, so I'm planning on keeping it growing.
And we are excited to hear that she is going full-time with photography once she graduates.
She's super talented and very friendly and easy to work with.
It is safe to say that she has it all figured out. Marcus Flynn reporting for the Echo.
Look for more of Afton's work in the yearbook this year, as she took several of the senior photos of the class of 2021. Heck, she even did mine. Check out Afton's Instagram at AftonJoyPhoto to see some of her awesome work and maybe even schedule a session. And hey, speaking of the yearbook, the Echo would like to give you a little bit of an update. The yearbook staff has been working hard to give us the best book they can in such an odd year.
We should be excited. Just because COVID is happening, that doesn't mean that activities weren't happening. And we were able to get into a lot of those activities and take pictures and make the most of everything.
They just recently received a sample of this year's cover, and let me tell you, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure this year's edition will be one that we'll never forget. We all know saying goodbye is hard, but this year in particular, Hastings High School must make an extra difficult wave goodbye. Several of our longtime staff members will be leaving the building for the last time. Here with more on this news is the Echo's Maria Houston.
Most of you know our beloved assistant principal, Mr. Veit. If you didn't know him, some words that would come to mind are
hardworking, bright and bubbly person, kind,
as just a positive, outgoing guy,
a bright, bubbly personality.
Unfortunately, our amazing principal will be saying goodbye to Hastings High School after 35 years of being in this building.
This was just a good time to go ahead and change directions in my life. It was just one of those things. My dad passed away this last July 8th, and you just think about things more at that point, and just thought, I could work for another year or two, or I could do some things now while I feel very healthy and enjoy my grandchildren.
As many of you may know, Mr. Veit is an assistant wrestling coach for Hastings High School.
His thing is positive mental attitude, PMA. So throughout sprints or whatnot, we'll say that. We'll just talk about that. And it's a very good trait that he has. He always has a positive mental attitude. And he's just, with the wrestling team, he's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of background, so he's a super good guy to have in the room.
My goal was always just to help people believe in themselves.
My son, AJ, has been in wrestling since he was, kindergarten or preschool, I don't even remember when. And he has admired Coach Veit, since day one. And I just think of the really positive influence Mr. Veit has had on my son.
What you may not know is how influential wrestling has been for his career as an educator.
After graduating from college, I had a business degree, and I was out in the business world, but I was coaching at that time at the college, and I wanted to work with kids full-time instead of part-time. And so then I went back and got my master's in education, and then continued on, came here to Hastings as a business teacher, and then continued on as an assistant principal. So I finished 35 years with that part, but wrestling's just been a part of my life.
Along with Mr. Veit, HHS will also be saying farewell to 3 additional educators, Mr. Harp, Miss Sawani, and Miss Taylor. Thankfully, after their last class at Hastings High School, some of these educators plan on coming back.
I do plan on sticking around. I've told Mr. Hansen, our athletic director, that I will continue to help out with site managing or whatever they need. And so I'd like to stay involved. I plan on staying active in the school. I just won't be in a teaching role.
I wanted to leave the full-time teaching, but not really leave teaching, because I'm hoping to be coming back next year as part of the AVID program and be able to continue working with students and doing all that stuff, but have them more flexibility.
I'm looking forward to continuing with wrestling. It's just something I'm very comfortable with.
Before these educators leave Hastings High School, these are the messages they wanted you to hear.
Continue to appreciate what we have here, because not all schools have what we have here at Hastings. And so I guess my message would be, having lived through the last years, we'll get back to normal, and then when we do, kind of realize what we had and keep building on that.
I would just like to say thank you for putting up with another crazy science teacher nerd person, and yeah, just thanks to everyone.
This experience of teaching has been the thing that has given me the most personal growth. As much as we think about teaching as something that comes from the teacher to the student, I just can't overestimate the amount that comes back from students to me.
Number one, I love you. And number two, always have a smile on your face.
Reporting for the Echo, I'm Maria Houston.
Well, here we are. As strange as this is to say in April, that does it for this season of the Echo. There truly is no right way to say goodbye in such a bittersweet year. Raiders, stay positive, keep fighting, and finish strong. And remember, as we return to normal, we'll do it all together, as a class, as a community, as a family. When you're at Hastings High School, you never have to fight your battles alone. I'm Carl Warner, signing off one last time for The Echo.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me and ease my mind, imagine how the world could be